I knew something was wrong the moment I put my key in the lock. The familiar resistance, the slight catch that always made me jiggle the key just so. It wasn't there. The door swung open too smoothly, like it was eager to show me what waited inside. Nothing, absolutely nothing. My apartment, the one I'd spent 3 years filling with carefully chosen furniture, art I couldn't really afford, and the small treasures I'd collected, was empty. Not messy empty, or burglarized empty. Methodically, deliberately empty. I stood frozen in the doorway, my suitcase still gripped in my hand, jet lag suddenly evaporating in a rush of adrenaline. The hardwood floors gleamed in the afternoon light, streaming through bare windows. No curtains, no couch where I'd spent countless nights watching bad reality TV with a glass of wine. No dining table where I'd hosted dinner parties that lasted until 3 a.m. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing against the bare walls. The sound bounced back at me, mocking. I took 3 steps inside, my boots clicking against the floor. The closet stood open, hangers gone. The bathroom, empty. Not even a forgotten bottle of shampoo or an old toothbrush. My bedroom, just indentations in the carpet where my bed had been. My phone buzzed in my pocket. With trembling fingers, I pulled it out. A text from Eliza. "Welcome home, miss your stuff yet?" The numbness that had enveloped me cracked. A hot wave of nausea rolled through my stomach and up my throat. Eliza, my best friend since college, the person who'd hugged me goodbye at this very door 6 weeks ago, promising to water my plants and collect my mail while I was in Europe for work. The plants were gone too. I sank to the floor, my legs no longer able to support me. My mind raced, trying to make sense of this. A practical joke, a misunderstanding. But the text, that cruel, taunting text, told me everything I needed to know. I called her, straight to voicemail. "Eliza, what the fuck? Where is my stuff? Call me back right now." My voice shook, caught between rage and disbelief. I tried again, and again. Nothing. With shaking hands, I opened my banking app. The password didn't work. I reset it, waiting impatiently for the email, heart pounding against my ribs. When I finally logged in, the screen showed a balance of $212.37. Last month, there had been over $40,000. My savings, my security, my future. "No, no, no," I whispered, scrolling frantically through transactions, withdrawals, transfers, all authorized with my information. All while I was presenting marketing strategies to clients across Europe, believing my life was waiting safely for me back home. I called the bank, pacing the empty apartment, explaining in increasingly desperate tones that I hadn't authorized these transactions, that I'd been out of the country, that someone had stolen. "I'm sorry, Ms. Brewer, but these transactions were authenticated with your password, and the security questions were answered correctly. There's no evidence of fraud in our system." "But it wasn't me," I shouted, my voice bouncing off the bare walls. "I understand your frustration, but without evidence of unauthorized access." I hung up, unable to listen anymore. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Eliza. "Maybe check your credit score next." My stomach dropped. I sat back down on the floor, opened my credit monitoring app. 3 new credit cards, maxed out, a personal loan, all in my name. The room started spinning. I leaned forward, pressing my forehead against the cool hardwood floor, trying to breathe. This couldn't be happening. Not Eliza, not my best friend of 12 years. The person who'd held my hair back when I was sick, who'd helped me move into this very apartment, who knew all my passwords, because of course she did. We trusted each other completely. I'd given her my spare key. I'd shared my Netflix account. I'd told her about the promotion I was working toward, about the bonus I expected. I thought of the last night before my trip, dinner at our favorite restaurant, Eliza raising her glass in a toast to conquering Europe. "I'm so proud of you, V." Had she been planning this even then? While I was excitedly talking about the clients I'd be meeting, had she been calculating how much she could take from me? My phone rang. Jacqueline from work. I let it go to voicemail. I couldn't talk to anyone, not yet, not until I understood what was happening. I crawled to the kitchen, empty, not even a glass to fill with water, and leaned against the wall where my refrigerator used to be. The magnitude of what Eliza had done was still sinking in. Not just theft, complete erasure. She hadn't just stolen my money and possessions. She'd tried to erase my existence. My phone buzzed with a notification from my email. Subject line: "Congratulations on your resignation." I opened it with numb fingers. An acceptance of my resignation from the marketing firm where I'd worked for 5 years. Effective immediately. Sent 3 days ago, while I was on a plane home, believing I was returning to my life. The email blurred as tears finally came, hot and angry. Through them, I saw another text appear on my phone. "Eliza, you always said I deserved better. Now I have it. Yours. Don't bother looking for me. By the time you figure anything out, I'll be gone." In that moment, sitting on the floor of my empty apartment, I made a promise to myself. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Eliza had no idea what she'd just created. I spent that first night on the floor of my empty apartment, back pressed against the wall, knees pulled to my chest. The rage came in waves, receding only to crash back harder each time. By morning, something had crystallized inside me. A cold, sharp clarity I'd never felt before. I borrowed clothes from the emergency bag in my car and went straight to the police station. The officer behind the desk looked bored as I explained what happened. "So your roommate took your stuff?" he asked, not looking up from his computer. "Not my roommate, my friend. She was watching my place while I was in Europe." He sighed. "And you gave her a key?" "Yes, but, and your passwords?" "Some of them, yes, but, ma'am, this sounds like a civil matter. If you voluntarily gave someone access to your accounts and property." "She stole everything I own." My voice echoed through the station. Several heads turned. "She emptied my bank accounts. She resigned from my job in my name. This isn't a misunderstanding." The officer finally looked at me. "File a report. But I'll be honest, these cases are complicated. Without clear evidence of forced entry or unauthorized access, it's your word against hers." I filled out the paperwork with shaking hands, knowing it wouldn't help. By the time I left, the sun was high and harsh, matching my mood. My phone rang. "Jacqueline, again." "Where are you?" she demanded when I answered. "HR said you resigned, but I know that's bullshit. What's going on?" I leaned against a lamppost, suddenly exhausted. "I didn't resign. Eliza did it for me apparently, along with stealing everything I own and emptying my accounts." "What? Vanessa, what are you talking about?" "I came home to an empty apartment. Everything gone. She took it all, Jacqueline. Everything." Silence on the other end. Then, "I'm coming to get you. Where are you?" 20 minutes later, I was in Jacqueline's car, staring out the window as the city blurred past. "I warned you about her," Jacqueline said quietly. I turned to look at her. "What?" "Eliza. I warned you she wasn't trustworthy." The memory hit me like a slap. "Dinner last year," Jacqueline's voice low across the table. "I don't trust her, Vanessa. Something's off. The way she talks about your promotion, your bonus. It's like she's jealous, not happy for you." I defended Eliza fiercely. "You don't understand our friendship. We've been through everything together." "You did," I admitted. I didn't want to hear it. "What did the police say?" "Civil matter. Basically, I'm screwed." Jacqueline's apartment was everything mine used to be. Warm, lived in, safe. She made coffee while I showered, then handed me her laptop. "Start making calls. Credit card companies, banks, your landlord. I'll help." For hours we worked, reporting fraud, placing holds, explaining again and again what had happened. Most responses were the same. "We'll investigate, but since you gave her access." By evening my throat was raw from talking, and my eyes burned from staring at screens. "I found her," Jacqueline said suddenly. I looked up. "What?" She turned her phone toward me. An Instagram post from 3 days ago. Eliza on a beach, sunglasses pushed up on her head, smiling that smile I'd trusted for years. The caption, New Beginnings. Blessed. The location tag, Cabo San Lucas. She's in Mexico, with my money. The rage I'd been suppressing all day roared back. There's more. Jacqueline hesitated. She's not alone. She scrolled to another photo. Eliza, with her arm around a woman I recognized immediately. Serenity, my mentor, at work. The woman who'd recommended me for the European project. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. The timing of my trip, the way Eliza had encouraged me to take it. It's such an opportunity, V. You can't pass it up. They planned this together, I whispered. Serenity knew exactly when I'd be gone. She probably helped Eliza resign for me. Jacqueline nodded grimly. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I stared at the photo, at Eliza's smiling face, at the arm she had wrapped around Serenity. My mentor, my friend, both betrayers. I'm going to take everything back, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. And then I'm going to make them both regret ever knowing my name. Vanessa. No. I cut her off. Don't tell me to let it go. Don't tell me karma will get them, or the police will handle it. They won't. That's not what I was going to say. Jacqueline's eyes met mine. I was going to say you'll need help. She reached for her phone, scrolled through contacts, then handed it to me. The name on the screen. Winston. He's a tech consultant I worked with last year. Off the books kind of guy. If anyone can help you track digital footprints, it's him. I took the phone, a plan already forming in my mind. Does he owe you a favor? Several. Jacqueline's smile was sharp. And I think he'll find your situation interesting. That night, I couldn't sleep on Jacqueline's couch. I kept seeing Eliza's face in that Instagram photo. The casual confidence of someone who thought she'd gotten away with it. The smug satisfaction. I opened my laptop and created a new document. At the top, I typed, Eliza and Serenity. Underneath, I began listing everything I knew about them. Their habits, their weaknesses, their secrets, the ones they'd trusted me with over glasses of wine and late-night conversations. They thought they knew me, sweet, trusting Vanessa, who always saw the best in people, who forgave too easily, who would probably cry for a while, and then try to rebuild. They had no idea what they'd awakened. By morning, I had a plan. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't legal, and it would require me to become someone I never thought I could be. I was ready to begin. Winston wasn't what I expected. No hoodie, no basement apartment littered with energy drink cans. Just a clean-cut guy in a button-down shirt who met us at an upscale coffee shop, his MacBook looking like any other remote worker's. So, he said, after Jacqueline introduced us, you want to digitally track someone who stole your identity? And my life, I added. Everything. He nodded, sipping his Americano. Walk me through what happened. I recounted the story. The homecoming to an empty apartment, the drained accounts, the resignation letter. With each detail, his expression grew more interested, and the police said, civil matter. The words still tasted bitter. Winston leaned forward. Here's what most people don't understand about digital privacy. It doesn't exist. Not really. Every account, every transaction, every login leaves breadcrumbs. The trick is knowing how to follow them. Can you help me find her? I asked. I can do better than that. He opened his laptop. I can help you become her digital shadow. Every move she makes, you'll know about it. Every dollar she spends, you'll see it. And if you want, he paused, eyes flicking to Jacqueline. I can help you take it all back. How? I asked. Not here. He glanced around the coffee shop. Let's go somewhere more private. An hour later, we were in Winston's surprisingly normal apartment. No server racks, no wall of monitors, just a desk with 2 screens and a view of the park. First things first, he said, typing rapidly. We need to see what accounts she still has access to. I provided every password I could remember. Email accounts, social media, banking, shopping sites. She's changed most of these, Winston muttered. But she's made mistakes. People always do. His fingers flew across the keyboard. Windows opened and closed faster than I could track them. There, he said finally, pointing to the screen. She's using your Netflix account, right now, actually. I leaned closer. Sure enough, someone was streaming a show I'd never watch. Can you tell where she is? IP address is masked. She's using a VPN. He frowned. But she's logged into your iCloud from a device in Cabo. Sloppy. What does that mean for us? It means we have a starting point. He turned to me. What's your goal here, Vanessa? Just to find her? Or something more? The question hung in the air. What did I want? Justice seemed too clean a word for the churning in my gut. I want everything back, I said finally. And I want her to feel what I felt. Standing in that empty apartment, realizing someone I trusted had hollowed out my life. Winston nodded, no judgment in his eyes. Then we start by becoming invisible observers. We watch, we gather information, and when the time is right, we strike. For the next 3 days, I barely slept. Winston showed me how to track Eliza's digital footprint, credit card purchases, location check-ins, social media activity. We created a map of her movements, her spending habits, her routines. She's getting careless, Winston said, on the 3rd night. Using your credit cards openly. Look at this. Spa treatments, dinners at expensive restaurants, shopping sprees. The purchases scrolled across his screen, each one a fresh wound. And Serenity? I asked. Harder to track, more careful, but they're definitely together. He showed me another Instagram post, just a glimpse of Serenity's distinctive silver bracelet in the corner of a photo Eliza had posted. I trusted her, I whispered. Serenity was the one who pushed for me to get that European assignment. She mentored me for years. Only to help set you up, Winston finished. That's cold. I stared at the screen, at the evidence of their betrayal laid out in data points and timestamps. How do we get my money back? Winston hesitated. That's where this gets complicated, legally complicated. I don't care. You should. His voice was gentle but firm. Crossing certain lines means you can't go back. They cross those lines first. And that makes it justified? He turned to face me fully. I'm not judging. I'm asking what you can live with. The question hit harder than I expected. What could I live with? The answer had seemed so clear in the white-hot center of my rage. Now, faced with actual choices, actual consequences. I need to think, I said. That night, alone in Jacqueline's guest room, I couldn't sleep. I scrolled through old photos on my phone. Eliza and me at college graduation, arms around each other. Serenity and me at the company holiday party, both laughing at some forgotten joke. Had it all been fake? Every moment, every conversation, every shared secret. Had they been calculating even then? My phone buzzed with a text from Winston. Found something. Call me when you wake up. I called immediately. Eliza's coming back, he said without preamble. She booked a flight to Newark for next Tuesday. Why would she come back? My heart raced. She has to know I'll be looking for her. That's not all. I heard typing in the background. She's been emailing with someone named Otto. Romantic emails. Plans to meet when she returns. Otto? The name wasn't familiar. Who is he? I don't know yet. But he seems important to her. Very important. A new piece of the puzzle. Someone Eliza cared about. Someone she was willing to risk returning for. Find out everything about him, I said. A new plan forming. Everything. Already on it. Winston paused. There's something else. I found emails between Eliza and Serenity from before your trip. They weren't just planning to take your money, Vanessa. What do you mean? They were after something specific, something you have access to at work. Client information, maybe. The emails are vague, but they mentioned the real prize repeatedly. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just personal betrayal. It was something bigger. I need to get back into the company system, I said. Can you help me? I can try. But we'll need to be careful. If they're after corporate data, this just became much more serious. I ended the call and stared out the window at the city lights. The hurt and rage were still there, but now something else burned alongside them. Curiosity. What were Eliza and Serenity really after, and how could I use it against them? For the first time since coming home to my empty apartment, I felt a flicker of something like power. They thought they'd left me with nothing. They were about to discover how dangerous nothing could be. This doesn't feel right, Winston said, not looking up from his laptop. We were in his apartment again, the glow of multiple screens illuminating his frown. Accessing your company's servers is one thing, but what you're suggesting is exactly what they did to me, I finished. They didn't hesitate to destroy my life. Why should I hesitate to return the favor? Winston finally met my eyes. Because once you cross this line, you become something different, someone different. I'm already different. I gestured to the borrowed clothes I'd been living in for days. They made sure of that. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I'll help you get into the system. What you do after that is your call. For the next hour, we worked in silence. Winston bypassing security protocols, while I made notes about what to look for, client lists, project details, anything that might explain what Eliza and Serenity were really after. I'm in, he said finally. You've got about 20 minutes before the system flags the unusual access. I took his place at the keyboard, navigating to my work folders. Everything looked untouched, which made no sense. If they wanted company data, why leave it all here? Then I saw it, a folder labeled European Initiative that I hadn't created. Inside were copies of all my presentation materials, client contacts, and project proposals from my trip. They didn't delete my work, I murmured. They copied it. Winston leaned over my shoulder. Can you tell what they were specifically targeting? I scanned through the files, looking for patterns. One name kept appearing in my most accessed documents, Meridian Global. This client, I said, pointing. They're one of our biggest accounts. I was finalizing a major expansion of their European marketing strategy. Worth a lot of money. Millions. The realization hit me, and I was the primary contact. If I suddenly resigned, whoever took over my accounts would have access to all my client relationships. Let me guess, Serenity. I navigated to the company directory. Sure enough, Serenity was now listed as the lead on all my former accounts, including Meridian Global. She's positioning herself to steal the client, I said. The pieces clicking together. That's why they needed me out of the way. It wasn't just about my money. It was about my career, my connections. Can you prove it? I downloaded everything I could find. Emails, meeting notes, calendar invites showing the timeline of their plan. 10 minutes left, Winston warned. I worked faster, digging deeper into Serenity's communications. And then I found something that made my blood run cold. Winston, I whispered, look at this. An email chain between Serenity and someone at a competing agency, discussing how to transition Meridian Global's business away from my firm. The language was careful, coded, but the intent was clear. Corporate espionage. This is bigger than just screwing you over, Winston said. This is illegal, like federal charges illegal. I downloaded the emails, my mind racing. We need to. A notification popped up on screen. Unusual access detected. System lockout in 60 seconds. Time's up, Winston said, quickly disconnecting. Did you get everything? I nodded, clutching the flash drive. Enough to understand what they're really doing. Enough to stop them. Vanessa. Winston's voice was serious. This changes things. If they're involved in corporate espionage, these aren't just people who screwed you over. They're criminals with a lot to lose if caught. Good, I said. That gives me leverage. It also makes them dangerous. He closed his laptop. We need to be careful how we proceed. My phone rang. Jacqueline, where are you? She asked when I answered. I've been trying to reach you all morning. With Winston, we found something big. Well, I found something too. Or someone, rather. Her voice dropped. Otto, Eliza's new boyfriend. My pulse quickened. What about him? He works at Meridian Global. Senior Marketing Director. The final piece of the puzzle slid into place. They're using him to facilitate the client transfer. Exactly. And here's the kicker. He has no idea who Eliza really is. From what I can gather, they met online while you were in Europe. He thinks she's some hotshot marketing consultant. Does he know about me? Doubt it, but he's about to. I could hear the smile in Jacqueline's voice. I set up a meeting with him tomorrow. Professional consultation, off the books. He has no idea I work at your firm. Jacqueline, that's risky. Yes, but so is what you're doing. Her tone turned serious. We're in this together, Vanessa. You're not the only one Serenity has screwed over. After we hung up, I sat in silence, processing everything. The scope of Eliza and Serenity's betrayal was expanding beyond personal vengeance into something that could destroy multiple careers, companies, lives. You okay? Winston asked quietly. No, I admitted. I thought this was just about me, about what they took from me, but it's so much bigger. Does that change what you want to do? I stared at the flash drive in my hand. I could take this to the police now, to my company's legal team. There would be investigations, possibly arrests. But would I get justice? Would I get back what was taken from me? No, I said finally. It doesn't change anything. It just raises the stakes. Winston nodded slowly. Then we need to be smarter than they are, more careful. And we need to move fast. Eliza's flight lands tomorrow. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Otto, this stranger who had somehow become entangled in my story. Was he an innocent pawn in their game, or another conspirator? Either way, he was now a piece on the board, a piece I could use. I pulled out my phone and typed a message to Jacqueline. For your meeting with Otto tomorrow, wear the recording device Winston gave you. I want to hear everything. Her reply came seconds later. Already planned on it. Get some sleep, V. Tomorrow we start fighting back. I set down my phone and stared at the ceiling, a strange calm settling over me. For days, I'd been reacting to shock, to betrayal, to loss. Now, finally, I was acting, setting things in motion that couldn't be undone. Whatever happened next, I wouldn't be the victim anymore. He's here. Jacqueline's voice came through my earpiece, slightly distorted. I sat in Winston's car, across the street from the cafe, watching through tinted windows as a tall man in a tailored suit approached the entrance. Otto. In person, he looked even more polished than in the photos Winston had found. Confident stride, expensive watch catching the sunlight. The kind of man who belonged in boardrooms, making million-dollar decisions. The kind of man Eliza would target. Remember, Winston said from the driver's seat, adjusting the recording equipment. We're just gathering information. Don't let Jacqueline push too hard. I nodded, though my instinct screamed to confront Otto directly, to demand answers about Eliza, about Meridian Global, about everything. Through our audio feed, I heard Jacqueline greet him warmly. Introductions, small talk about the weather, then smoothly transitioning to business. I appreciate you meeting off the record like this, she said. Sometimes these conversations are better had outside official channels. Absolutely, Otto replied, his voice deep and measured. Though I admit, I'm curious why a marketing strategist from a competing agency wants to discuss Meridian's business. Professional courtesy, Jacqueline said smoothly. I've heard rumors about Meridian, considering a change in representation. Given my expertise in the European market, I thought I might offer some perspective. A pause. I could picture Otto weighing his response, deciding how much to reveal. We're always evaluating our options, he said finally, but I'm not at liberty to discuss specifics. Of course. Though I imagine your new consultant has been quite persuasive. Eliza, isn't it? My breath caught. Beside me, Winston tensed. How do you know about Eliza? Otto's voice had cooled considerably. Our industry is small, word travels. Jacqueline's tone remained casual. I understand she's been instrumental in suggesting alternative agency representation. Eliza is a personal relationship, not a professional one. Are you sure about that? Another pause. longer this time. What exactly are you implying? Only that mixing business with pleasure can be complicated, especially when you don't know everything about the person you're involved with. I think this meeting is over. The scrape of a chair being pushed back. Before you go, Jacqueline's voice dropped. Have you ever wondered why Eliza is so interested in your Meridian work, or why she appeared in your life right when your company was considering a change in agencies? Who are you really? Otto demanded. Someone who thinks you deserve to know who you're really dealing with. Eliza isn't who she claims to be. This is getting dangerous, Winston muttered, reaching for the car door. I'm pulling Jacqueline out. Wait. I grabbed his arm. Listen. I don't know what game you're playing, Otto was saying, but I suggest you stop, now. Not a game, a warning. Jacqueline's voice remained steady. Ask Eliza about Vanessa Brewer. Ask her about the apartment she emptied and the accounts she drained. Ask her about Serenity and their plans for Meridian Global. Silence. Then, how do you know Vanessa? My heart stopped. He knew my name. She's my colleague, my friend. And Eliza destroyed her life. That's not. Otto stopped. Vanessa is in Europe, on extended leave. Is that what Eliza told you? What Serenity confirmed? Jacqueline's voice hardened. They're lying. Vanessa returned a week ago to find everything she owned gone. Her money stolen. Her job resigned in her name. This is insane, Otto said. But uncertainty had crept into his voice. Check for yourself. Call Vanessa's number. Ask around at her firm. Better yet, ask Eliza directly. Watch her face when you say Vanessa's name. The audio feed went silent for several seconds. Then Otto spoke, his voice tight. If what you're saying is true, it is. Then I need proof. Not accusations from a stranger in a cafe. Fair enough. Jacqueline's tone softened. My contact information is on that card. When you're ready to see the evidence, call me. Through the window, I watched Otto exit the cafe, his face troubled. He paused on the sidewalk, pulled out his phone, and made a call. He's calling Eliza, Winston said. Want to bet? I nodded, unable to speak. Seeing Otto in person had made this all more real somehow, more complicated. He didn't look like a co-conspirator. He looked like another victim. Winston started the car. We should go before he spots us. As we pulled away, my phone buzzed with a text from Jacqueline. He took the bait. Now we wait. But we didn't have to wait long. That evening, as Winston and I reviewed the audio recording, my phone rang with an unknown number. Hello, I answered cautiously. Is this Vanessa Brewer? Otto's voice. My eyes met Winston's. He nodded encouragingly. Yes, I said. Who's asking? My name is Otto Bradley. We need to talk. His voice was controlled but tense. About Eliza and Serenity. I'm listening. Not over the phone, in person. He paused. I've seen some emails. Things that don't make sense, unless what your friend told me is true. My pulse quickened. What kind of emails? Between Eliza and Serenity. About you. About Meridian. Another pause. About me. Winston scribbled on a notepad. Careful. Could be trap. Why should I trust you? I asked. You shouldn't. Otto replied bluntly. Just like I shouldn't trust you. But if we're both being played, doesn't it make sense to compare notes? I considered my options. Meeting Otto was risky, but it also might be my best chance to understand the full scope of Eliza and Serenity's plan. When and where? I asked finally. Tomorrow, noon. The botanical garden in the Central Park. Public enough to be safe for both of us. After we hung up, Winston looked at me gravely. You know this changes everything, right? If Otto's really in the dark, he's not an enemy. He's a potential ally. Or he's working with them, trying to find out how much we know. Either way, meeting him is dangerous. Winston closed his laptop. Eliza lands tomorrow morning. If Otto tells her about your conversation, the implication hung in the air. Eliza would know I was on to her. The element of surprise, my one advantage, would be gone. I have to take the risk, I said. If Otto really doesn't know what they're doing, he deserves the truth. And if he's part of it, I met Winston's concerned gaze. Then I need to know that too. That night, I dreamed of my empty apartment. But this time, Eliza wasn't alone. Otto stood beside her, both of them laughing, as they carried out my life piece by piece. I woke, in a cold sweat, the dream still vivid. For the first time since this began, I questioned my own judgment. Was I seeing connections that weren't there, creating villains out of everyone associated with Eliza? Or was I finally seeing clearly the web that had been spun around me all along? Tomorrow would bring answers, and with them, a point of no return. The botanical garden was quiet for a weekday noon. Just a few tourists and mothers, with strollers wandering the paths. I'd arrived 30 minutes early, Winston's warnings echoing in my head. Don't sit with your back to any entrance. Keep your phone recording. If anything feels wrong, leave immediately. I chose a bench near the orchid display, positioned to see anyone approaching from either direction. The recording app on my phone was running, tucked discreetly in my jacket pocket. At exactly noon, Otto appeared at the east entrance. He paused, scanning the garden, until his eyes found me. Even from a distance, I could see the tension in his shoulders, the careful way he surveyed our surroundings before approaching. He was being cautious, too. Interesting. Vanessa, he asked, stopping a few feet away. I nodded. Otto. He sat beside me, leaving a careful distance between us. Up close, he looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, his normally impeccable appearance slightly rumpled. I didn't sleep last night, he said, as if reading my thoughts. After your friend approached me, I did some digging, made some calls. And it seems Vanessa Brewer did not in fact resign to extend her European trip. His eyes met mine, searching. She returned to find her apartment emptied and her accounts drained. That's right. By Eliza, it wasn't a question. And Serenity, I added. They worked together. Otto ran a hand over his face. I've been seeing Eliza for almost 2 months. Met her at an industry mixer. She said she was a marketing consultant who'd just moved to the city. He gave a bitter laugh. I believed every word. We all did, I said quietly. That's how she operates. He pulled out his phone, unlocked it, and handed it to me. These are the emails I found. Between Eliza and Serenity. I scrolled through them, my stomach tightening. The emails were explicit, detailed discussions of how to use Otto to facilitate Meridian Global's transfer to their partner agency, how to ensure I was out of the picture, how to maximize their financial gain. There's more, Otto said. Keep scrolling. I did, and froze when I saw my name. V's apartment cleared out. Everything of value in storage. Will sell once things cool down. Accounts drained. She'll be too busy trying to survive to cause problems. Serenity's response. Perfect. Otto's completely under control. He has no idea you're using him. Once the Meridian deal closes, we'll have our commission and be long gone. My hands shook as I handed the phone back. When did you find these? Last night. After your friend approached me. Otto's jaw tightened. Eliza gave me her laptop password weeks ago. I never had a reason to use it until now. And you're showing me this because I've been played for a fool. His voice was controlled, but I could hear the rage underneath. And I want to know what you're planning to do about it. I studied him, looking for any sign of deception. How do I know this isn't a trap? That you're not working with them to find out how much I know? You don't. He met my gaze directly. Just like I don't know if you're really who you claim to be. But those emails are real, and if they're using both of us, doesn't it make sense to work together? The sincerity in his eyes seemed genuine, but then, so had Eliza's, so had Serenity's. Eliza landed this morning, I said, watching his reaction carefully. Did you tell her about meeting me? No, I told her I had meetings all day. His expression darkened. She's staying at my apartment, using my Wi-Fi, my security system. An idea sparked. Your security system. Does it have cameras? Inside and out. I can access them remotely. So you can see what she's doing right now. Otto pulled out his phone again, opened an app, and handed it to me. On screen was a live feed of a sleek apartment. Eliza sat on a couch, laptop open, phone to her ear. Even with the sound muted, I could see she was agitated, pacing occasionally. "Can you turn on the sound?" I asked. Otto tapped the screen. Eliza's voice filled the air between us. "Don't care what he said. Find out what Vanessa knows." A pause. "No, Otto doesn't suspect anything. He thinks I'm in love with him." A harsh laugh. "Just make sure everything's ready for the Meridian meeting tomorrow. Once they sign with the new agency, we get our cut, and this is all over." I handed the phone back, my decision made. "I have a plan, but I need your help." "What kind of plan?" "The kind that gets us both what we want. You keep your client and your reputation. I get my life back." I leaned closer, "and they get exactly what they deserve." Otto's expression hardened. "I'm listening." For the next 20 minutes, I outlined what I had in mind. As I spoke, Otto's initial skepticism gave way to grim appreciation. "It's risky," he said when I finished. "If they realize what we're doing." "They won't. They're too confident, too sure they've won." I stood up. "But we need to move fast. The Meridian meeting is tomorrow." Otto nodded, standing as well. "I'll handle my end." "But Vanessa," he hesitated. "Are you sure about this? Once we start, there's no going back." The question gave me pause. Was I sure? This plan crossed lines I'd never imagined crossing before. It made me no better than Eliza, in some ways. But then I remembered my empty apartment, the hollow feeling of standing in that space that had once been mine, now stripped of everything that made it home. The casual cruelty of Eliza's texts. "I'm sure," I said firmly. "They didn't give me a choice when they took everything from me. Now I'm not giving them one either." As we parted ways, my phone buzzed with a text from Winston. "Where are you? Jacqueline and I are worried." I typed back, "Meeting went well. Otto's with us. Plan in motion. Meet me at your place in an hour." Then I turned my phone off and headed toward the garden exit, a strange calm settling over me. For days, I'd been reacting to Eliza and Serenity's moves, always one step behind. Now finally, I was the one setting the trap. Tomorrow they would walk right into it. The Meridian Global Conference Room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. 40 floors up, everything below looked small, insignificant. I wondered if that's how Eliza and Serenity saw me. Just another tiny figure they could crush without consequence. Not today. I adjusted the collar of my borrowed blazer, feeling the weight of Otto's security badge clipped to my pocket. The conference room was empty, the meeting not scheduled to start for another 30 minutes. Plenty of time. My phone buzzed. "Winston, security cameras looped. You're invisible for the next 20 minutes." I moved quickly to the head of the table, plugging a small device into the HDMI port of the presentation system. Winston had created it, a remote override that would give us control of the screens when needed. Another text, this time from Jacqueline. "In position at the firm, legal team standing by." Everything was in place. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the thundering of my heart. After days of planning, of careful coordination, the moment was almost here. I heard voices in the hallway and slipped into the adjacent break room, leaving the door cracked just enough to see through. Otto entered first, followed by 3 Meridian executives I didn't recognize. Behind them came Serenity, elegant in a charcoal suit, her silver bracelet catching the light. And finally, Eliza. Seeing her in person, after everything that had happened, sent a jolt through me. She looked exactly the same. Confident smile, perfectly styled hair, designer clothes, probably bought with my money. She carried herself like someone who had never faced consequences for her actions. That was about to change. Otto made introductions, his performance flawless. No one would guess he was anything but the consummate professional, eager to finalize Meridian's new agency partnership. "Before we begin," he said, "I'd like to introduce Eliza Patterson, a marketing consultant who's been instrumental in helping us evaluate our options." Eliza smiled, accepting the acknowledgement with practiced modesty. I'm just happy to help Meridian find the right partnership. And Serenity Diaz, Otto continued, who will be leading the account team at the new agency. Serenity stepped forward. We're thrilled about this opportunity. I've prepared a presentation outlining our transition plan. As she moved to connect her laptop, Otto caught my eye through the crack in the door. The signal. I texted Winston. Now. The conference room lights dimmed slightly as the large screen at the front of the room came to life. Instead of Serenity's presentation, a single image appeared. My empty apartment. The photo I'd taken that first day back. Confusion rippled through the room. I'm sorry, Serenity said, flustered. That's not my presentation. She tried to disconnect her laptop, but the image remained. Then it changed to another. Bank statements showing massive withdrawals, all dated during my time in Europe. What is this? One of the executives asked. The screen changed again. Now it showed emails, the ones between Eliza and Serenity, discussing their plan, their scheme to use Otto, their intention to steal Meridian's business. Serenity's face drained of color. Otto, there's been some mistake, has there? Otto's voice was ice. Because it seems like the only mistake was trusting either of you. Eliza's eyes darted around the room, her composure cracking. This is some kind of hack. Someone's trying to sabotage the meeting. Someone like Vanessa? Otto asked quietly. At my name, Eliza froze. Her eyes widened in genuine fear. That was my cue. I pushed the door open and stepped into the conference room. Hello, Eliza, I said. My voice was steadier than I expected. Surprised to see me, the shock on her face was everything I'd imagined. For a second, she actually took a step back. Vanessa, she managed. What are you doing here? Reclaiming what's mine. I moved to stand beside Otto. Starting with the truth, Serenity recovered first. Gentlemen, I can explain. Vanessa is a former colleague who was terminated for... Save it, I cut her off. They've already seen the emails. They know exactly what you two were planning. The Meridian executives were on their feet now, expressions ranging from confusion to anger. Otto, one of them said. What's going on here? Corporate espionage, Otto replied calmly. Serenity and Eliza plan to manipulate Meridian into changing agencies, securing themselves substantial commissions in the process. They eliminated Vanessa, your actual account manager, to facilitate the scheme. That's absurd, Eliza said. But her voice wavered. Her eyes kept darting to the screen, where her own words condemned her. I stepped closer to her. You took everything from me. My home, my money, my job. Did you think I'd just disappear? It wasn't personal, she said, almost automatically. The audacity of those words hit me like a physical blow. Wasn't personal. You emptied my apartment. You drained my accounts. You texted me to gloat about it. My voice rose, despite my efforts to control it. You were my best friend for 12 years. Something flickered across Eliza's face. Not remorse, exactly, but discomfort. For the first time, she seemed to recognize the magnitude of what she'd done. You always had everything handed to you, she said quietly. The promotions, the recognition, the perfect life. I just took what I deserved. What you deserved. The rage I'd been containing for days threatened to explode. You deserved my trust, my friendship, the life I built. Before she could answer, the conference room door opened again. Jacqueline entered, followed by two men in suits. Serenity Diaz and Eliza Patterson? One of them asked. I'm Detective Morris. This is Detective Reyes. We'd like to ask you some questions about allegations of identity theft, fraud, and corporate espionage. Serenity's composure shattered completely. This is a misunderstanding. Save it for your lawyer, Jacqueline said, coldly. The firm has already filed charges, and trust me, they're going to make an example of you both. As the detectives led Eliza and Serenity out, Eliza turned to look at me one last time. In her eyes, I saw something unexpected, not hatred or defiance, but a flicker of respect. I didn't think you had it in you, she said softly. Guess I underestimated you. Everyone did, I replied. When they were gone, the room fell silent. The Meridian executives looked shell-shocked. Otto cleared his throat. Gentlemen, I suggest we reschedule this meeting. In the meantime, I can assure you that Meridian's relationship with our current agency remains secure. As they filed out, murmuring among themselves, Otto turned to me. You okay? I nodded, though I wasn't sure if it was true. The confrontation had left me drained, hollow. I'd imagined this moment for days, seeing the look on Eliza's face, watching her plans crumble. But now that it had happened, I felt no triumph, only exhaustion. It's over, Jacqueline said, squeezing my shoulder. They can't hurt you anymore. But as I looked around the now empty conference room, at the evidence of betrayal still displayed on the screen, I wasn't so sure. Some wounds don't heal just because justice is served. Some betrayals change you forever. The key felt strange in my hand as I stood outside my apartment door. New locks, new key, same old door. I hesitated before turning it, unsure what I'd feel stepping into that space again. Empty rooms had haunted my dreams for weeks. Need a minute? Winston asked, setting down the box he was carrying. I shook my head. No, I'm ready. The door swung open to reveal bare floors, blank walls, and sunlight streaming through uncovered windows. Still empty, but different now. This emptiness was a beginning, not an ending. Home sweet home, Jacqueline said, brushing past me with a lamp in her arms. Or it will be, once we get all this stuff inside. Behind us, the hallway was lined with boxes and furniture. Not my old possessions, which were long gone, but new things, a fresh start. Where do you want this? Otto asked, struggling with a coffee table. Living room, I directed, against the wall for now. For the next few hours, we worked together, filling the apartment piece by piece. A couch here, bookshelves there, each item carefully chosen, each placement deliberate. This time, I was building my space with intention, not just accumulating things. By evening, the apartment had taken shape. Not finished, but livable. We collapsed onto the new couch, sharing pizza and beer, exhausted but satisfied. To new beginnings, Jacqueline toasted, raising her bottle. And to old friends who show up when it matters, I added, looking at each of them in turn. The conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter that gradually erased the echoes of emptiness. As night fell, Jacqueline and Winston said their goodbyes, leaving Otto and me alone. I should go too, he said, gathering his jacket. Stay, I found myself saying, just for a while. We sat in comfortable silence, the city lights twinkling through the windows. Have you heard anything? He asked finally. I knew what he meant. Eliza took a plea deal, 2 years, plus restitution. Serenity's still fighting the charges, but her lawyer is pushing for a deal too. Do you think the punishment fits the crime? I considered the question. No punishment would undo what they did. But it's not about that anymore. What is it about then? Moving forward, I said simply. Building something new. Otto nodded, understanding in his eyes. Over the past weeks, as we'd worked together to build the case against Eliza and Serenity, something unexpected had grown between us. Not romance. We were both too damaged for that right now. But a connection forged in shared betrayal and recovery. I have something for you, he said. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a small flash drive. The last of the evidence, everything we gathered. I thought you might want to decide what to do with it. I took it, feeling its weight in my palm. Why give this to me? Because you've earned the right to choose how this ends. His eyes met mine. For yourself, at least. After he left, I sat alone in my new living room, turning the flash drive over in my hands. It contained everything. The emails, the bank records, the security footage. All the evidence of Eliza's betrayal, of Serenity's calculation, of the moment my life had been torn apart. My laptop sat on the coffee table. I opened it, inserted the drive, and watched as the files populated the screen. So much pain contained in these digital fragments. My finger hovered over the delete button. Would erasing these files help me move on? Or would it be another form of erasure, pretending the betrayal had never happened? I closed the laptop without deciding. Some choices couldn't be rushed. Morning found me at the coffee shop near my old office, waiting, my hands wrapped around a mug for warmth, or perhaps for comfort. When the bell above the door jingled, I looked up. Mary, my former colleague, spotted me and came over. Her smile was tentative, uncertain. "Thanks for meeting me," I said as she sat down. "Of course," she studied my face. "You look better than the last time I saw you." "I feel better." I took a sip of coffee. "I wanted to thank you for testifying. I know it wasn't easy going against Serenity." Mary shrugged. "It was the right thing to do. I just wish I'd spoken up sooner, when I first noticed things weren't right." "You couldn't have known what they were planning." "Neither could you." Her eyes were kind. "None of us saw it coming. We talked for an hour about the case, about the firm, about the future." Mary mentioned an opening at her new company. I promised to think about it. As we were saying goodbye, she hesitated. "Have you talked to Eliza since the sentencing?" "No." The thought had crossed my mind, but I'd pushed it away. "I don't think I'm ready for that." "Would you ever be?" "Ready, I mean." The question followed me as I walked home, through a city that no longer felt hostile. Would I ever be ready to face Eliza again, to hear her explanations or justifications, to look into the eyes of someone who had known me so well and still chosen to destroy me? In my apartment, I went straight to my laptop and opened the flash drive again. All the evidence, all the pain, all the betrayal, still there, waiting for my decision. I created a new folder on my hard drive, labeled Past, and transferred the files there. Not deleted, not dwelled upon, just stored away. Part of my history, but not my present. Then I opened a blank document and began to type. "Dear Eliza, I'm not writing to forgive you. I'm not sure that's possible or even necessary. I'm writing because for 12 years, you were the person I told everything to. And now, ironically, you're the only one who would understand what I've been through. You took everything from me, my possessions, my security, my trust. But here's what you didn't take: my resilience, my ability to rebuild, my future. I won't be visiting you. I won't be waiting when you get out. This letter isn't the beginning of a reconciliation. It's the end of a chapter. You taught me the hardest lesson of my life. And for that, just that, I thank you. I didn't sign it, didn't print it, didn't send it. The act of writing was enough, acknowledging the pain without letting it define me." Outside my window, the city continued its relentless rhythm. Inside, in this space that was mine again, different but mine, I felt something I hadn't expected to feel so soon. Not happiness exactly, not yet, but possibility, the quiet certainty that emptiness, like fullness, is temporary, that what defines us isn't what we lose, but what we choose to build in its place. I closed my laptop and went to unpack another box.
Hey there, I'm Nancy, 28, and I've been hustling as a hairdresser at Curl Up and Dye, this charming little salon in the heart of downtown. I genuinely love what I do. There's something almost magical about watching someone walk in feeling down, then seeing them light up with confidence after a fresh look. But here's the thing, I've got bigger dreams. Someday, I want to open my own place. Make my own rules, build my own brand. Anyway, I was putting the finishing touches on a killer balayage for one of my regulars, Tina, when my phone buzzed. Again, I didn't even need to look. I knew it was my sister, Megan. "Girl, your hair is fire," I told Tina, flashing her a grin while trying to ignore the phone practically vibrating out of my pocket. "Thanks, Nancy. You're a miracle worker," she said, admiring her reflection with a huge smile. The best part of my day, honestly. As soon as Tina left, I checked my phone. 5 missed calls and a text from Megan. "Need your help ASAP." I sighed, dialing her back. "Hey, Meg. What's going on?" "Nancy, thank God. I've got this interview tomorrow, and my roots are a mess. Can you fix me up? Pretty please." Her voice was tinged with that familiar urgency. I glanced at the clock. It was well past closing. Meg, I don't know. It's kind of late. Come on, sis. You know I can't afford salon prices right now. I'll make it up to you, I swear. That old familiar pang of guilt twisted in my stomach. Megan had been job hunting for months, and I knew she was strapped for cash. But this wasn't the first time she'd asked for a freebie. Fine, I sighed. Come by in an hour. As I hung up, my coworker and best friend Olivia poked her head around the corner, raising an eyebrow. You're not seriously staying late again for your sister, are you? I shrugged, a little defensive. She needs help, Liv. What am I supposed to do? Olivia rolled her eyes. Nancy, you've got to stop letting people walk all over you, even if it is family. It's not like that, I protested, but deep down, I knew she had a point. Just then, the bell over the door jingled, and in walked an absolute dreamboat of a guy. Tall, great hair, I always noticed that first, and a smile I could probably melt ice caps. Hey, I'm Jake. I'm new in town and desperately need a trim. Any chance you could squeeze me in? I glanced at the clock, then back at his hopeful face. You know what? Why not? Hop in the chair, Jake. As I worked on Jake's hair, we talked about everything. His recent move for work, our shared love of obscure 80s movies. By the time I finished, I was smitten. This is perfect, Jake said, running a hand through his freshly cut hair. Hey, I know this might be a bit forward, but would you want to grab a coffee sometime? My heart did a little flip. I'd love to, I replied, grinning. Jake left, promising to call, and I felt like I was on cloud nine. Maybe Liv was right. Maybe it was time to start putting myself first. But just as I was basking in that thought, my phone buzzed again. Megan. Reality crashed back in. I had a sister who needed me, dreams to chase, and a lot of decisions to make. And something told me life was about to get even more complicated. Later that evening, as I was applying bleach to Megan's roots, our manager, Sarah, tapped me on the shoulder. Nancy, can I have a word? My heart sank as I followed her to the back office. Look, she began, her tone a mix of concern and frustration. I've noticed you staying late, using salon products. If you're doing side work, we need to discuss it. No, it's not that, I stammered. It's just my sister. She's going through a rough patch. Sarah's expression softened slightly. I get it. I nodded, feeling a knot tighten in my throat. It won't happen again. But that promise was easier said than kept. Megan didn't just stop with her own hair. Soon she started bringing in friends, all with similar stories about why they couldn't pay full price. Nancy, you're an angel, her friend Tiffany gushed as I finished her highlights one night. I forced a smile, exhaustion seeping into my bones. It was nearly midnight, and I had an early start tomorrow. Just then, my phone buzzed. Jake, hey Nancy, I was wondering if you'd like to grab dinner tomorrow night. My heart leaped, then immediately sank as I remembered I promised to do Megan's friend Brittany's hair. I'm so sorry, Jake. I have plans I can't get out of. Rain check? I typed, feeling a pang of regret as I hit send. The next day, during lunch, Olivia cornered me. Nancy, what's going on? You look like death warmed over. I sighed. It's Megan. She keeps asking for favors, bringing in friends. I can't seem to say no. Olivia's eyes narrowed. You can, and you should. This is your career, Nancy, your dream. But she's family, I protested weakly. Family doesn't take advantage like this. Olivia shot back. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Megan. Hey sis, so remember my friend Chelsea? She has a date tonight and desperately needs her hair done. I told her you'd help. You're free after work, right? I stared at the message, feeling something inside me start to crack. Olivia's voice softened. Nancy, are you okay? I glanced at her, then back at my phone, swallowing hard. I don't know. The day wore on, each client, each call, and each demand pulling me in 1,000 directions. As I applied an updo on Chelsea that evening, I thought I was being discreet. But just as I finished, the door swung open, and there stood Sarah, arms crossed, her expression dark. Nancy, my office. Now. As Chelsea scurried out, I braced myself for the worst. Sarah didn't mince words. This is the last straw. One more freebie, and you're out. Understood. Shame burned my cheeks as I nodded. When she left, I dialed Megan, my hands trembling. We need to talk. Now. 30 minutes later, Megan strolled in, all smiles. What's up, sis? This has to stop, Meg. I nearly lost my job because of you." Her expression darkened. "Excuse me? I'm not the one who agreed to it. Because you guilt-tripped me, you always do this." "Oh, so now I'm the bad guy for asking my sister for help? Real nice, Nancy, real nice." I felt my temper rising. "It's not just help anymore, Megan. It's constant. Free services, discounts for your friends. It's too much." Megan's eyes narrowed. "Wow. Selfish, much? Wait till Mom and Dad hear about this. Their precious Nancy, too good to help her own sister." I stared, stunned. For the first time, I saw Megan clearly, the manipulation, the guilt trips, her utter disregard for my career and well-being. "Get out," I whispered. "Gladly," she snapped, slamming the door on her way out. I sank into a chair, shaking. Olivia found me there an hour later, the words spilling out, the ultimatums, the arguments, the shame. Olivia listened, her face growing darker with each revelation. "Nancy, honey, I hate to say this, but your sister is toxic. She's been using you, and it has to stop." I nodded weakly, knowing she was right. But the thought of confronting Megan again made my stomach churn. The next day, as I grabbed supplies from the back, I overheard a client talking in the waiting area. "I'm not sure about Nancy anymore. I heard she gives freebies to her sister's friends. What if she's using cheaper products and paying customers to make up for it?" I froze, my blood running cold. How did they know? Then it hit me, Megan. She must have been spreading rumors. Fury rose inside me, hot and fierce. This was the last straw. I'd lost clients, risked my job, and now my reputation was on the line. All because I couldn't say no to her. Pulling out my phone, I typed with shaking hands. "I know what you've been saying about me. We're done. Don't contact me again." Before I could second-guess myself, I hit send and blocked her number. A moment later, Sarah noticed my distress. "You okay, Nancy?" I took a deep breath. "No, but I will be," I replied, taking a steadying breath. "Sarah, I need to talk to you about something." As I laid everything out, the late nights, the free services, the way Megan had pressured me, it felt like a weight was lifting from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt like I was truly taking control of my life. After I finished, I looked up, bracing myself. "I owe you an apology," I said. "I've let my sister take advantage of the salon's resources. It was wrong, and it won't happen again." Sarah's expression softened. "Nancy, I appreciate your honesty. We all make mistakes. Just don't let it happen again, okay?" Relief washed over me. "Thank you for understanding," I replied, gratitude filling my voice. That night, I did something I should have done months ago. I blocked Megan's number and removed her from my social media. As I hit that final block button, I felt a surge of liberation. A tinge of guilt lingered, but I quickly reminded myself of all the lies, manipulation, and stress I'd endured. No, this was necessary. The next day at work, I felt lighter, more focused. As I chatted with a client, I saw Jake walk in. My heart did a little flip. "Hey, Nancy, got time for a trim?" he asked with a smile. As I worked on his hair, we started talking. Turns out, Jake owned a successful coffee shop downtown. "You know, Nancy, you've got real talent. Have you ever thought about opening your own salon?" I laughed nervously. "It's my dream, but it feels so far out of reach." Jake smiled. "I thought the same thing before I opened my shop. Tell you what, why don't we grab coffee sometime? I can share some small business tips." Over the next few months, Jake and I met regularly. He helped me create a business plan, navigate loans and leases, and every meeting made my dream feel more achievable. 6 months flew by in a whirlwind of planning, saving, and hard work, and then finally, the day arrived. I stood in front of my very own salon, strands of joy, hardly believing it was real. "Ready for this, boss lady?" Olivia grinned, standing beside me. She'd been my rock through it all, and now she was my first employee. "As ready as I'll ever be," I replied, my voice trembling with excitement. "You've got this, Nancy. I'm so proud of you." A few weeks later, I was having dinner with my parents when my mom dropped a bombshell. "Did you hear about Megan? She lost her apartment. Apparently, she's burned bridges with just about everyone she knows." I felt a pang of something, a mix of sadness and vindication. "That's terrible," I said, and I meant it. Despite everything, I didn't want Megan to suffer, but I knew it wasn't my responsibility to fix her problems anymore. Dad looked at me expectantly. "Maybe you could help her out?" Give her a job at your new place? I took a deep breath. No, Dad. I can't do that. Megan needs to figure things out on her own. I have my own life to focus on now. As I drove home that night, I thought about how much had changed. A year ago, I would have dropped everything to help Megan, no matter the cost to myself. But now, I understood the importance of boundaries, of putting myself first sometimes. For the first time in my life, I felt truly, completely free. What would you do if a family member consistently took advantage of you? Would you cut ties like Nancy or handle it differently? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this tale of personal growth and setting boundaries, hit the like button and subscribe for more stories that'll get you thinking. The evening air felt thick as I stepped into the house, weary from a grueling day at work. Any hope for a peaceful night vanished, replaced by an oppressive silence. As I passed the small office, I froze, my heart pounding. There, at my desk, was Ethan. His face was tense, and scattered across the table were my personal documents, bank statements, savings records, even the journal where I'd lovingly mapped out our baby's future. "What are you doing?" I demanded, stepping inside. My voice shook with anger and disbelief. Ethan looked up, his expression chillingly unapologetic. "Just making sure everything's in order," he replied with infuriating calm. "With the baby on the way, we need to be prepared." My hands clenched at my sides. "You went through my things without asking." My voice rose, edged with rage. "You had no right." His calm facade cracked, and he stood up, his eyes narrowing. "Jessica, our finances are shared," he said coldly. "I have a right to know what's going on, especially when you're acting like money grows on trees." Confusion quickly turned to dread. "What are you talking about?" I demanded, my voice rising. "I've been saving every penny for our baby's future. What could possibly justify this invasion of privacy?" Ethan took a step closer, his gaze icy. "I'm $100,000 in debt, Jessica. Gambling debt. I need that $50,000 you've been hiding away. We have to fix this before it destroys us." The room spun around me as his words sank in. The savings I carefully set aside to secure our baby's future were now the target of his reckless choices. "You're not using that money," I managed to say, my voice trembling. "That's for our child." Ethan's face twisted with anger. "You're being selfish," he shouted, his voice echoing through the room. "This is about survival." Before I could react, his hand shot out, striking me hard across the face. The force of the blow sent me stumbling back, my cheek stinging with sharp, fiery pain. Shock and fear gripped me as he grabbed my shoulders, shoving me against the wall. Pain shot down my spine, and my heart raced. "You think you can defy me?" he hissed, his grip tightening. "I've sacrificed for this family, and you act like some spoiled little girl." Tears blurred my vision, but I held my ground, my voice barely a whisper. "You can't do this to me," I said, desperation breaking through. Mustering every ounce of strength, I pushed him away and staggered out of the room. I bolted outside, the cool evening air hitting my tear-streaked face as I stumbled into my car. Locking the doors, I sat there, gasping for breath. My body shook, but the instinct to protect my baby burned fiercer than my fear. I had to get away. The next morning, I met my best friend Olivia at our usual coffee shop, the bruise on my cheek glaringly fresh. Her eyes widened with horror when she saw me, and she pulled me into a gentle hug. "Jessica, what happened?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Taking a shaky breath, I told her everything: Ethan's secret gambling debt, his plan to steal my $50,000 savings, and how he had crossed a line I could never forgive. When I finished speaking, Olivia's face grew hard with anger. "You have to leave," she said, her voice steady and firm. "You and your baby deserve to be safe. You can't stay with him." Her words pierced through my fog of fear, and I nodded, tears welling up. "I know," I whispered, "but I don't know where to go." Reaching across the table, Olivia squeezed my hand. "We'll figure it out," she promised. "But first, you need legal protection. We have to get you a lawyer." A few days later, Olivia drove me to meet Alex, a respected family attorney. His office was warm and inviting, sunlight streaming through large windows. I needed that feeling of safety more than ever. Alex greeted me with a kind smile, but as I shared my story, his expression turned serious. I described the emotional abuse, Ethan's gambling debt, and the physical violence. My voice trembled, but I forced myself to stay strong for my baby. "You're incredibly brave," Alex said gently, "but you need to be prepared. If you fight for your rights, Ethan might retaliate. We'll need solid evidence of everything." Olivia leaned forward. "Jessica's been saving texts, photos, and journal entries for months. We can get whatever you need." Alex nodded, his expression resolute. "Good. We'll start by securing a protective order and making sure Ethan can't touch that $50,000. We'll also need proof of his gambling debts and financial recklessness." Hope sparked in my chest. With Olivia and Alex by my side, I felt a flicker of strength. The days blurred into nights as Olivia and I worked late, gathering every piece of evidence we could find. We documented text messages where Ethan belittled and manipulated me, photographed the bruise on my cheek, and found records of his gambling debts. Each piece felt like a weapon in my fight to protect my baby. One evening, I sat at my parents' house, my hands trembling as I finally shared everything with them. They'd suspected something was wrong, but hadn't known the full extent. My father's jaw clenched in anger, but he took my hand gently. "You're stronger than you think, Jessica," he said, his voice steady. "We're here for you." Their support filled me with renewed courage. I wasn't just fighting for myself, I was fighting for my baby's future. The day of the court hearing arrived, and the courthouse felt cold and intimidating. I walked in with Olivia and Alex at my side. Ethan was already there, sitting with his lawyer, his expression hard. His mother sat beside him, her glare full of disdain. The judge called us forward, and Alex presented our case with calm precision, detailing Ethan's emotional abuse, his hidden gambling debt of $100,000, and the physical violence I had endured. He emphasized that my $50,000 was for our baby's future, not to cover Ethan's reckless decisions. When it was my turn, I took the stand. My hands trembled, but I kept my voice strong. "I married Ethan because I loved him," I began, "but his choices put us all in danger. He hid his gambling addiction, and when I tried to protect my baby, he hurt me. I can't let my child grow up in a home filled with fear." Ethan's lawyer tried to paint me as overly emotional, claiming Ethan's actions were due to stress. But the judge listened closely, her eyes narrowing at their arguments. She asked pointed questions about Ethan's debts and behavior, making it clear she wasn't buying his excuses. During a recess, Alex leaned over to me. "You're doing great, Jessica," he whispered. "Stay strong. The judge is paying attention to the facts." From across the room, Ethan glared at me, but I held my head high. I wasn't afraid anymore. I was fighting for my baby and our future. When the judge finally delivered her verdict, she looked directly at Ethan. "Your actions are inexcusable. You are hereby sentenced to 5 years in prison for assault and financial misconduct, and you must pay a $5,000 fine to Jessica for damages." Relief washed over me as the nightmare ended and justice prevailed. The weeks that followed were filled with emotions and adjustments. With Ethan imprisoned and legally barred from contacting me, a sense of safety gradually returned to my life. My parents opened their home to me, offering unwavering support as I prepared for my baby's arrival. Olivia stayed by my side, her presence a constant source of strength. Together, we transformed one of the spare rooms in my parents' house into a beautiful nursery. We painted the walls a soothing pastel blue, decorating with cheerful animal prints. Each small step, hanging curtains, arranging baby clothes, setting up the crib, felt like reclaiming a part of myself I'd lost. Yet despite this newfound peace, there were still nights when fear crept in. Nightmares sometimes pulled me back to memories of Ethan's rage, and I would wake up gasping, clutching my belly as if to shield my unborn child from the darkness of the past. As the autumn leaves drifted gently outside, I sat on the back porch with my father, a cool breeze carrying the scent of change. For the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful. My father, a man of few words, turned to me, his voice filled with quiet pride. "You've been through hell, Jessica, but you're stronger because of it. Your mother and I are so proud of you." Tears filled my eyes, tears of gratitude. "Thank you, Dad," I whispered. "I don't think I could have made it through without you and Mom." He placed a gentle hand on mine. "We're here for you always." A few weeks later, Olivia surprised me with a small, intimate baby shower. Only my closest friends and family were there, filling the living room with laughter, love, and pastel-colored decorations. We played silly games, shared memories, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I let myself feel truly happy. That evening, after everyone had left, Olivia and I sat on the couch surrounded by gifts, baby clothes folded neatly in a pile. "You've come so far, Jess," Olivia said, her voice soft. "I'm so proud of you." Looking at the gifts and the colorful wrapping paper, I felt a wave of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you," I replied, my voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for being there, for believing in me." Olivia smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "Always." As my due date approached, I spent more time in the nursery, imagining the future I'd share with my daughter. One afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the curtains, I sat in the rocking chair, my hand resting on my belly. "Little one," I whispered, "you're going to grow up in a home filled with love. You'll never have to know fear. I promise." The day finally came when I went into labor. It was a whirlwind of pain, nerves, and excitement, but I was surrounded by the people I loved most. My parents held my hands, and Olivia never left my side. Hours later, I held my daughter, Charlotte, in my arms for the first time. Her tiny eyes blinked up at me, and the world seemed to stand still. Tears streamed down my face as I whispered, "You're safe, my love." We're both safe now. The weeks after Charlotte's birth were filled with sleepless nights and tender moments. My parents helped with feedings and late-night diaper changes, and Olivia visited often, bringing meals and laughter. The love that surrounded Charlotte and me was overwhelming, a reminder that we'd both found a new beginning. One afternoon, as I rocked Charlotte in the nursery, the sunlight cast a warm glow on the walls. I thought about how far we had come. The pain of the past had left scars, but they were reminders of the strength I'd discovered within myself. I had fought for freedom, for safety, and for the chance to give my daughter a life filled with love and joy. Healing was not a straight line, but every day was a step forward. And with Charlotte in my arms, I knew our future was brighter than I'd ever imagined. Thank you for following our journey. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like to show your support. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi, I'm Emily Foster, a 32-year-old executive, and let me tell you, life has been one wild ride. It all started 2 years ago when my husband Jack and I decided we were ready to start a family. We thought it would be simple, but boy, were we wrong. Month after month, nothing happened. We tried everything, tracking ovulation, changing diets, even taking these strange herbs my friends swore by. But still nothing. Then finally, one day we got lucky. I'll never forget it. 2 little pink lines on that pregnancy test. We were over the moon. But our joy didn't last. At our 12-week scan, the doctor couldn't find a heartbeat. Just like that, our world shattered. The miscarriage hit me harder than I ever expected. I felt broken, like my body had betrayed me. Jack was supportive, but I could see the pain in his eyes too. We were both lost, trying to pick up the pieces. And then my mother-in-law, Linda, decided it was the perfect time for a big birthday bash. Talk about terrible timing. But she insisted, claiming it would lift everyone's spirits. Yeah, right. So there we were, getting ready for this family dinner. I stood in front of the mirror, trying to convince myself I could get through it. "You can do this, Emily," I repeated. "It's just dinner." How bad could it be? Little did I know, it was about to be a total disaster. As we drove to Linda's, Jack squeezed my hand. "You okay, babe?" he asked, his voice gentle. I forced a smile. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just, you know." He nodded. "I know, we'll get through this together." When we arrived, Linda greeted us with her usual enthusiasm. "Oh, darlings. So glad you could make it," she said, wrapping me in a tight hug. "How are you holding up, dear?" "I'm okay," I lied, plastering on a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. That's when I saw him, Tom, Jack's brother. He was already 3 sheets to the wind, sprawled on a couch with a glass of whiskey in hand. Great, just what we needed. "Well, well, well," Tom slurred, "if it isn't the happy couple. How's life treating you too?" I bit my tongue, forcing myself to stay calm. It was going to be a long night. As we sat down for dinner, the tension was thick in the air. Linda kept throwing me worried glances, while Jack's dad, George, was determined to keep his attention solely on his plate. "So, Emily," Tom started again, his words thick with alcohol. "When are you two going to give Mom and Dad some grandkids?" Tick-tock. It felt like a punch to the gut. I forced myself to breathe, trying not to let the tears well up. Jack's hand tightened on my knee under the table. Tom, that's enough, Linda warned, her voice tight. But Tom wasn't done. I'm just asking. It's not like it's a secret. You've been trying. Maybe you're just not doing it right, huh? The tears I'd been holding back threatened to spill. This was exactly what I feared. Jack's face went red with anger, his grip on my knee tightening even more. Tom, seriously. Shut up, Jack growled. But Tom just laughed. Oh, come on, it's just a joke. Lighten up, you two. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up abruptly, the screech of my chair against the floor cutting through the tension. Excuse me, I muttered, fleeing to the bathroom. Once inside, I splashed cold water on my face, trying to calm the storm building in my chest. I could hear raised voices coming from the dining room, and it felt like the walls were closing in. How was I going to survive the rest of this nightmare? I took a deep breath and forced myself to step back into the lion's den. The second I entered, every pair of eyes turned toward me. I pasted a smile on my face and sat back down. Everything okay, dear? Linda asked, her voice dripping with concern. Just peachy, I replied flatly. Tom snorted from across the table. Yeah, I'm sure. Hey, Emily, he slurred, his grin smug. How's that big jacketing job of yours going? Still pushing pencils and playing with pretty pictures. I gritted my teeth. It's going great, Tom. We just landed a major account last week. Oh wow, he drawled. I'm sure that's real fulfilling. Tell me, does it make up for not having a real family? Jack's hand slammed down onto the table with a force that made the plates rattle. That's enough, Tom. But Tom was on a roll. What? I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. When are you two gonna stop playing house and start taking on some real responsibilities? I could feel my face burning, my pulse racing. Our life choices are none of your business, Tom. Oh, touchy subject, huh? He leaned in, his breath heavy with whiskey. Having trouble in that department? You know, stress can really mess with fertility. Maybe if you weren't so focused on your career. Tom, please, Linda pleaded, her voice strained. This isn't appropriate dinner conversation. But Tom wasn't listening. I'm just trying to help. You two want kids, right? Or is this one of those career women don't need babies things? He looked at me with a sickening smirk. You know, maybe it's for the best. I mean, if you can't even carry a baby to term, maybe it's nature's way of saying you shouldn't be a mother. The room went dead silent. The weight of his words hit me like a physical blow. How dare he? How dare he? How dare you? I whispered, my voice trembling. I stood up so quickly my chair screeched against the floor. Without another word, I turned and fled the room. The days after that nightmare dinner were a blur of anger and hurt. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. It hung over me like a dark cloud. Jack tried to comfort me, but I could see he was struggling too. We were both broken in different ways. Finally, I called Rachel. We met up, and I spilled everything. Everything Tom had said, how he humiliated me, how he'd hurt Emma. Rachel's eyes went wide. Oh, Emily, I'm so sorry. What a complete jerk. I nodded, trying to fight back the tears. I can't let him get away with this, Rachel. Not just what he did to me, but how he treated Emma. It's not right. Rachel bit her lip, looking thoughtful. Actually, there might be something we can do. What do you mean? She leaned in close, her voice low. Okay, this is just between us, but I think Tom's been embezzling from the company. I nearly choked on my latte. Are you sure? Not 100%, but I've seen some weird transactions, things that don't add up. I just haven't found solid proof yet. My mind was racing. If we could find evidence. Rachel nodded. Exactly. We could take him down, Emily. For real. As I was leaving the coffee shop, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Linda. Emma left Tom. She's staying with her friend Julie. My heart sank. Poor Emma. Maybe I should have called Julie. Maybe I should have asked for Emma's number. My hands were shaking as I dialed her, my heart hammering in my chest. Hello? Emma, I said, my voice soft. It's Emily, Jack's sister-in-law. I heard what happened. Are you okay? There was a long pause, and when Emma spoke, her voice sounded small, exhausted. Not really, but I will be. We talked for almost an hour. Emma opened up about Tom's abuse, how he controlled her, manipulated her, and used her for his own gain. It made me sick to my stomach, hearing it all out loud. But there was more. There's more, Emma said, her voice quiet but steady. Tom's involved in some shady stuff at work. I don't know all the details, but I've overheard things, dealings that didn't sound legal. My heart started to race. This could be it. Emma, I know this is a lot to ask, but would you be willing to help us stop Tom? Another pause. Yes, she said, her voice firm. I'm done being afraid of him. In the weeks that followed, the three of us, Rachel, Emma, and I, became a well-oiled machine. Rachel dove into the company's financials, uncovering discrepancies and unexplained transfers. Emma provided dates, names, anything she could remember from Tom's shady dealings. And me? I documented everything, piecing it all together like an ugly, twisted puzzle. One night, Rachel leaned over her laptop, pointing to the screen. Look at this, she said. These transfers, they're going to offshore accounts. And look at the dates. I gasped. The dates lined up perfectly with Tom's lavish vacations, his new car, his expensive clothes. Emma nodded, her face tight. He always said it was from bonuses or smart investments. I should have known better. As we dug deeper, a pattern emerged. Tom wasn't just stealing to fund his flashy lifestyle. He had a gambling problem. A big one. He was using company funds to cover his losses, sinking deeper and deeper into the hole. This is it, I said, looking at the mountain of evidence we collected. This is how we take him down. Rachel squeezed my hand. Are you sure about this, Emily? Once we do this, there's no going back. I thought about that nightmare dinner, about all the pain Tom had caused. Not just to me, but to Emma, to the company, to everyone around him. I was sure. I'm sure. It's time Tom faces the consequences of his actions. We triple-checked everything before sending the evidence to the company's board and tipping off a journalist friend of Rachel's. A week later, we were at another family gathering, this time for Grandma Elizabeth's birthday. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Tom showed up late, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Jack and I were talking when he pulled him aside, his voice urgent. Jack, bro, can I talk to you for a sec? Jack glanced at me before nodding. Sure, what's up? Tom pulled him aside, but not far enough. I could hear every word. I'm in a bit of a jam, man, Tom said, his voice low and almost desperate. Just temporary, you know. But I was wondering if I could borrow some cash, just to tide me over. Jack hesitated. How much are we talking? 20 grand. 30 tops. I'll pay you back, I swear. I stood up, my voice calm but firm. No, Tom. We're not lending you money. Tom's face darkened and he shot me a glare. This isn't your business, Emily. Actually, it is, I said, holding my ground. Jack and I are a team, and the answer is no. Just then, the doorbell rang. Linda went to answer it, and I heard her gasp. 2 police officers stepped into the room. Thomas Foster, one of them called. Tom's face went pale. Yeah, that's me. What's this about? You're under arrest for embezzlement and fraud, the officer said. You have the right to remain silent. As they led Tom away, one of the officers explained that an anonymous tip had led to a company investigation, uncovering extensive evidence of Tom's crimes. In the aftermath, the family was reeling. Linda approached me, tears in her eyes. Emily, I'm so sorry. I should have stood up to Tom long ago. Can you ever forgive me? I hugged her tightly. There's nothing to forgive. We were all under his spell. George came over, his voice gruff with emotion. You did good, kid. Real good. I'm proud of you. And Grandma Elizabeth? She just gave me a wink and a knowing smile. I had a feeling she'd seen through Tom long before any of us. A month later, I sat in a doctor's office, clutching Jack's hand. The sound of a strong, steady heartbeat filled the room. Congratulations, the doctor said with a smile. Your baby looks perfect. As we left the clinic, I couldn't stop smiling. Can you believe it, Jack? We're really doing this. He kissed me softly. I can. You're the strongest person I know. Emily, this kid is lucky to have you as a mom. Now, here's my question for you. If you were in Emily's shoes, would you have exposed Tom's crimes, knowing it could tear your family apart? Or would you have kept quiet to maintain family peace? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hey there, I'm Ava. Friends sometimes joke that the monsters aren't lurking under the bed. They're sitting at the dinner table. I'm 28, back in my childhood home, trying to make it as an artist. Sounds cozy, right? Well, it was until my world got turned upside down. It all started after Dad passed. We were close, him and me, thick as thieves. He always believed in my art, even when others called me crazy for pursuing it. His death hit like a freight train. I was in my studio, staring at a blank canvas, when my sister Melissa walked in with her husband, Derek. "We're worried about you," Melissa said, her eyes flitting around the cluttered room. Derek chimed in, "Yeah, this place is a dump. How about we help you clean up?" I bristled. "Thanks, but I've got it under control." But they didn't leave. In fact, they started hanging around more. At first just company, but then things started shifting. Derek began making decisions, little by little. "We should repaint the living room," he'd say, or "that old couch has got to go." I tried to ignore it, but it felt like he was slowly erasing Dad's memory. Melissa changed too, following his lead instead of backing me up like she used to. One night, I went to the kitchen for a midnight snack and overheard them. "Melissa, honey, we need to talk about the house." Derek's voice was low, urgent. "What about it?" She sounded hesitant. "Don't you think it's time we made some changes? I was not exactly contributing much." My blood ran cold. Were they planning to kick me out? "But it's her home too," Melissa protested, though her voice was barely a whisper. "Is it though? Your dad's gone. She's just freeloading." I stood there, frozen, heart racing. My own sister, plotting with him in my home. In that moment, I knew one thing. A battle was coming, and I'd be damned if I let them win. Little did I know, the worst was yet to come. But hey, they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Guess I was about to find out. The next few weeks felt like walking on eggshells. Derek's grip on the house, and on Melissa, tightened. He was everywhere, changing locks, moving my things. One morning, I came downstairs to find my paintings moved to the garage. "What the hell, Derek?" I snapped. He didn't even look up. "This is a shared space, Ava. Your art was cluttering it up." I turned to Melissa, hoping for backup, but she just stared at her plate. "This is my home too," I said, my voice shaking with anger. Derek cut me off. "Actually, we've been talking. It's time for you to find your own place." It felt like a punch to the gut. "Melissa, is this true?" She finally looked up, torn. "Ava, we just think. Maybe it's time for a change." "No," I planted my feet, defiant. "I'm not leaving. This is my home, and Dad." "Dad's not here anymore," Derek snarled, slamming his fist on the table. The outburst startled us both, but in Melissa's eyes, I saw fear. This was about more than the house. Something was seriously wrong. "I'm not going anywhere," I said, voice steely. Derek's face twisted with rage. He stood up so fast his chair toppled over. "You ungrateful little." One second he was across the room, and the next he was in my face, grabbing my arm. Melissa screamed as I tried to break free. "Let go of me," I yelled, twisting, but his grip was iron. "Direct stop," Melissa cried, pulling at his arm. In the scuffle, I lost my balance and my head slammed into the edge of the table. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard Melissa sobbing. Somehow, adrenaline kicked in, and I broke free. Fueled by pure survival, I bolted for the door, hearing Derek's furious shouts behind me. But I didn't look back. I just ran, and I didn't stop until I reached Zoe's apartment, gasping for air. When she opened the door, her eyes went wide. "Oh my God, Gio, what happened?" I collapsed into her arms, the weight of everything hitting me like a tidal wave. As Zoe patched up the cut on my forehead, I told her everything. "We need to call the police," she said, reaching for her phone, but I stopped her. "Wait, the cameras," I said, my mind racing. Dad installed security cameras last year. They must have caught everything. Zoe's eyes lit up. "That's evidence, Gio. We can use that." A calm determination settled in me as the adrenaline wore off, leaving me shaky and sore. This wasn't just about me anymore. I had to get Melissa away from Derek, and I needed Zoe's help. "We're going to take that bastard down," I said, my mind already racing with plans. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a glimmer of hope. Derek had no idea what was coming for him. The next morning, I woke up on Zoe's couch with a pounding headache. For a split second, I thought it had all been a nightmare, but the bruises on my arm told a different story. "Morning, warrior," Zoe said, handing me a cup of coffee. "I called in for you at the gallery. Oh, my cousin Alex is coming over. She's a social worker. might be able to help. I nodded, grateful but overwhelmed. Thanks. I just can't believe this is happening. A knock at the door made me jump. Zoe squeezed my shoulder before answering it. A tall woman with kind eyes stepped inside. You must be Ava, she said, sitting across from me. I'm Alex. Zoe filled me in. How are you holding up? I let out a bitter laugh. Oh, just peachy. My brother-in-law tried to kill me, and my sisters turned into a Stepford wife. Living the dream. Alex didn't flinch at my sarcasm. Instead, she pulled out a folder. What you're describing, Ava, is domestic abuse. It's not just physical. There's emotional manipulation, financial control. It's all part of the pattern. As she spoke, something inside me shifted. This wasn't just about me and a house anymore. Melissa was in real danger. What can I do? I asked, my voice stronger than I felt. Alex smiled, warm and reassuring. First, we document everything. Every incident, every threat. We build a case. Over the next few days, that's exactly what we did. I wrote down every instance of Derek's controlling behavior, every red flag I'd missed. Zoe helped me set up a secure cloud account to store photos of my injuries. But we needed more. That's when I remembered Mrs. Patel, our nosy neighbor who always seemed to be peering out her window. She must have seen something. I told Zoe, let's go talk to her. Mrs. Patel opened her door cautiously, but her eyes widened when she saw me. Giovanna, oh my, what happened to your face? I took a deep breath. Mrs. Patel, I need your help. Have you noticed anything strange at our house lately? Her face darkened. Oh dear, that new husband of your sister's, he's bad news. Always yelling, slamming doors. Last week, I saw him grab Melissa's arm so hard she cried out. My heart sank, but at the same time, I felt a spark of hope. This was the evidence we needed. Back at Zoe's, Alex helped us write up Mrs. Patel's statement. This is good, Ava. Really good. But, what? I asked, sensing her hesitation. We need to report this, file a police report, get a restraining order. It's the only way to truly protect you and Melissa. Fear gripped me. What if they don't believe me? What if it makes things worse for Melissa? Zoe grabbed my hand, looking me in the eyes. Gio, remember what your dad always said. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it. I closed my eyes, picturing Dad's face. What would he do if he knew what was happening to his daughters? Okay, I said, opening my eyes with newfound determination. Let's do it. Let's take this bastard down. Alex nodded, a fierce look in her eyes. I'll make some calls. We'll go to the station first thing tomorrow. That night, I lay awake in bed, restless. I kept thinking about Melissa, trapped in that house with Derek. But for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. We had a plan. We had evidence. And most importantly, we had each other. Tomorrow, the real fight would begin. I wasn't just bruised and scared anymore. I was ready. Derek had no idea what was coming for him. I might have left that house, broken and scared, but I was coming back. Stronger than ever. Watch out, Derek. Your reign of terror is about to end. The police station loomed ahead, a fortress of justice. With Zoe and Alex flanking me, I took a deep breath and pushed through the doors. The weight of the evidence in my hands felt like a ticking bomb. We're here to report a domestic violence incident, Alex said firmly to the officer at the desk. The detective assigned to our case, a stern-faced woman named Rodriguez, listened intently as we laid out our case. When we finally got to the security footage, Detective Rodriguez's eyebrows shot up. This is irrefutable evidence, she said, her eyes glued to the screen. We're bringing him in. What followed was a whirlwind. Derek was arrested and Melissa was brought in for questioning. When I saw her, my heart clenched. She looked like a shadow of herself, small and frightened. Gio. Her voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to. I wrapped her in a hug, feeling her body shake with quiet sobs. It's okay, Mel. We're in this together now. The trial that followed was a brutal marathon of testimonies and evidence, but the security footage was the nail in Derek's coffin. When the judge finally handed down the sentence, a wave of relief washed over me so intensely it made me dizzy. Returning home felt surreal. Melissa and I stood in the entryway, taking it all in. It feels different, she murmured. I nodded. Yeah, but it's ours again. We can make it feel like home. The healing process was slow and often painful. Melissa dove into therapy, gradually finding her strength again. I channeled my emotions into my art, creating pieces that screamed of pain, resilience, and hope. One day, as I was painting in the living room, Melissa approached me. "Gio, I know I messed up," she said quietly. "I let him come between us, and I'm so sorry." I put down my brush, weighing her words. "Mel, you're my sister, and I love you. But you're right, we have a lot to work through. It's going to take time." She nodded, determination shining in her eyes. "I'm ready to put in the work if you are." Months passed, and our lives began to transform. My art career took off, with galleries eager to showcase my pieces that told a story of survival and renewal. Melissa found her purpose in starting a support group for abuse survivors. I even began volunteering at a women's shelter, sharing my story and helping others find their inner warrior. Every time I spoke, I saw a reflection of my past self in their eyes, scared but with a flicker of hope. At my latest exhibition opening, I stood before the centerpiece, a massive canvas of a phoenix rising from ashes, two women emerging from its wings. "It's us, isn't it?" Melissa said softly, joining me. I smiled, squeezing her hand. "Yeah, it is. We rose from the ashes, Mel. Look how far we've come." As I gazed at the painting, a profound sense of peace settled over me. We had faced our demons, fought our battles, and emerged stronger. Our story wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about triumph. And now I have a question for you. If you were in Gio's shoes, would you have forgiven Melissa for her role in the abuse, or would you have cut ties completely? Where do you draw the line between family loyalty and self-protection? It's a tough question, and there's no right or wrong answer. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to hear what you think. Hey there, I'm Jennifer. I'm 32, doing pretty well in the marketing world. But right now, I'm back in my hometown for the hardest reason imaginable. My big brother Andrew's funeral. I can't believe he's really gone. Andrew and I were inseparable growing up. He was my protector, my confidant, my partner in crime. I remember this one time when I was 10 and he was 14. We snuck out to the old abandoned house on the edge of town, armed with nothing but flashlights and our overactive imaginations. "Stay close, Sar," he said, his voice steady even though I was terrified. "I got you." That was Andrew, always looking out for me. But then Karen came along. I tried to like her, really. When Andrew first introduced us, I put on my best smile and said, "Nice to meet you." But there was something about her, a coldness that never thawed. "Oh, so you're the famous little sister," she'd said, her voice sugary sweet, but her eyes cutting. "Andrew talks about you all the time." I could tell right then she saw me as competition. Every family gathering felt like a silent war. She'd make these snide remarks, suggesting I was too attached to Andrew or that it was time to grow up. Once at a barbecue, she'd said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "It's cute how you still cling to Andrew, Jennifer, but don't you think it's time to cut the cord?" I'd wanted to throw my drink at her, but Andrew had given me that look. The one that said, "Let it go, sis." So I did, for him. Now, standing in the funeral home, I see Karen playing the part of the grieving widow flawlessly. She's got everyone fooled but not me. Our eyes meet across the room, and for a split second, her mask slips. There's a flicker of something in her gaze, anger, guilt. I can't quite tell. My parents are here too. Mom's a mess, mascara streaking down her cheeks as she clutches Dad's arm. Dad's trying to be strong, but I can see the pain in his face. They don't know about the tension between Karen and me. I kept it from them, not wanting to stir up any drama. "Jennifer." I hear a familiar voice and turn to see Lisa, my best friend since kindergarten. She wraps me in a tight hug. "I'm so sorry. Honorable, how are you holding up?" "I'm managing," I say, grateful for her support. Lisa's always been my rock, especially when things with Karen got rough. As we talk, I notice Tom, Karen's brother, hovering nearby. He's always had this awkward crush on me, which Karen hated. It was just one more thing that added tension between us. "Hey, Jennifer," Tom says, approaching with that awkwardness he's never quite grown out of. "I'm really sorry about Andrew. He was a great guy." I nod, not trusting myself to speak. The whole situation feels surreal. My brother is gone, And I'm standing here, surrounded by a mix of genuine grief and a powder keg of unresolved issues. As the service begins, I can't help but think about all the things Andrew and I never got to say. The last time we spoke, he seemed off, like he wanted to tell me something but couldn't find the words. Now, I'll never know what it was. I glance over at Karen again, and this time she's staring right at me. There's a challenge in her eyes, a silent message I can feel in my gut. Whatever's between us, it's not over, and I know that whatever comes next is going to change everything. The funeral service is a blur of tears and whispers. I can't take my eyes off Karen. She keeps fidgeting, her gaze darting around like she's searching for an escape. When she finally stands to speak, her words sound rehearsed, hollow. Andrew was everything to me, she says, her voice breaking in a way that doesn't quite ring true. I don't know how I'll go on without him. I have to bite my tongue to keep from scoffing. After the service, we all head back to Andrew and Karen's house. I hang back, watching as Karen flits from person to person, playing the grieving widow with perfect, practiced grace. Moments passed where, when Karen thought no one was looking, her face seemed almost relieved. The weight of it all hit me, and I muttered to Lisa, I need some air. Slipping away from the crowd, I wandered into Andrew's home office, a place strictly off limits when he was alive, by Karen's rules, not his. What are you doing in here? Came Karen's voice from the doorway. I spun around, my heart racing as I met her narrow gaze. Just remembering Andrew, I lied, trying to keep my voice steady. She stepped closer, her perfume cloying in the confined space. Well, do it somewhere else, she said sharply. This room is private. She moved to usher me out, but as she did, something on the desk caught my eye. Financial documents, spreadsheets, bank statements, and the numbers. They didn't add up. Karen, I said slowly, suspicion curling in my gut. What's going on with Andrew's business accounts? Her face went white, then flushed with anger. That's none of your concern. Get out, she snapped. But I couldn't let it go. The more I looked, the clearer it became. You've been stealing from him, haven't you? I said, feeling a mix of anger and disbelief. For years. You don't know what you're talking about, she hissed, her eyes blazing. I think I do, I countered. Does anyone else know? Is this why Andrew was acting so strange before he? But I didn't get to finish. In a flash, Karen grabbed a heavy crystal vase from the shelf and swung it at me. Pain erupted across my temple, and I staggered back. You nosy little, she snarled, all pretense gone. You've always been a thorn in my side. Well, not anymore. She shoved me out of the office, and I stumbled down the hall, my vision blurring. The next thing I knew, I was outside, the door slamming behind me. And don't come back. Karen's voice shrieked from behind the door. You're not welcome here anymore. I stood there stunned, blood trickling down the side of my face. Guests had started to whisper, their curious glances burning into me. Shame and shock churned in my stomach as I somehow made it to my car, my hands shaking so badly I could barely fit the key into the ignition. I drove on autopilot, ending up at Lisa's place. As soon as I stepped inside, I collapsed into her arms, the events of the day pouring out in choked sobs. I told her everything, the documents, Karen's reaction, the vase. We need to call the police, Lisa said firmly, leading me to her couch. But I hesitated. I don't have proof, I said, despair washing over me. It's my word against hers, and she's the grieving widow. Who's going to believe me? Lisa's face was grim as she cleaned the cut on my head. So what are you going to do? I don't know, I replied, staring down at my still trembling hands. But I can't let her get away with this. I think it might be connected to Andrew's death. I need to find out the truth. The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of sleepless nights and clandestine meetings. Lisa and I turned her apartment into our own little detective agency, fueled by coffee and a burning sense of justice. Look at this, Lisa said one night, handing me a stack of papers. I did some digging into Karen's background. She's got a whole other life we never knew about. I scanned the documents, my heart sinking. A previous marriage, I muttered, horrified. She told Andrew she'd never been married before. That's not all, Lisa continued, her voice grim. She has multiple fraud complaints against her under her maiden name. This woman's been running cons for years. My stomach churned, and Andrew had never known. We kept digging, piecing together Karen's twisted past. But we needed more, something concrete to connect her to the embezzlement from Andrew's business. That's when, of all people, Tom reached out to me. "Jennifer, we need to talk," he said over the phone, his voice shaky. "About Karen. There's stuff you need to know." We met at a dimly lit bar on the outskirts of town. Tom looked haggard, like he hadn't slept in days. "I can't keep quiet anymore," he blurted out as soon as I sat down. "Karen, she's done terrible things. To Andrew, to you, to so many people." "Tell me everything," I said, leaning in. Tom spilled it all, how Karen had been siphoning money from Andrew's business for years, using it to pay off debts from her previous scams, and how she'd manipulated Tom into helping her cover her tracks. "Andrew found out," Tom said, his voice breaking, "about a month before he died. He confronted her, told her he was going to divorce her and expose everything." My blood ran cold. "And then he suddenly died of a heart attack." Tom nodded, his gaze falling to the floor. "I can't prove anything, but I've always wondered." He reached into his pocket and handed me a USB drive. "This has everything: bank records, emails, all the evidence of Karen's fraud." I should have come forward sooner. I'm sorry." Over the next few days, Lisa and I worked tirelessly, piecing together an airtight case against Karen. I reached out to some of her previous victims, gathering statements and more evidence of her long history of deceit. One night, as I sorted through some of Andrew's old files, I found something that stopped me cold. A letter, addressed to me, dated just days before his death. "Jennifer," it read, "if you're reading this, something has happened to me. Karen isn't who we thought she was. I've uncovered some terrible things, and I'm afraid of what she might do. I need you to be careful." Tears streamed down my face as I read Andrew's final words to me. "But I also need you to help me expose the truth. You're the only one I can trust. I love you, sis. Stay strong." In that moment, my resolve solidified. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice. Justice for Andrew, for all of Karen's victims, and for the truth. I looked at Lisa, my voice steady. "We're going to take her down, whatever it takes." The next day, I walked into the family lawyer's office, feeling the weight of everything I'd uncovered pressing down on me. Mr. Johnson, who'd known our family for years, looked up as I entered, his brow furrowing in concern. "Jennifer, what's all this about?" he asked as I dropped a thick folder onto his desk. "It's about Karen," I replied, holding his gaze, "and what she did to Andrew." For the next hour, I laid out everything: embezzlement, fraud, her hidden past. With every revelation, Mr. Johnson's face grew grimmer. "My God," he whispered when I finished. "We need to take this to the authorities immediately." As the investigation unfolded, more of Karen's victims came forward, each with similar stories of manipulation and deceit. The charges against her began to pile up. With her deceptions exposed, control of Andrew's estate and business reverted back to our family. I knew what I had to do. "I'm taking over the company," I told my parents one night. Mom looked worried. "Are you sure, honey? It's a big responsibility." I nodded, my resolve unwavering. "I'm sure. It's what Andrew would have wanted." The transition wasn't easy. The business had suffered under Karen's mismanagement, but I threw myself into the work, determined to honor Andrew's memory. Slowly but surely, things began to turn around. On the 1-year anniversary of Andrew's death, I visited his grave. The autumn leaves crunched under my feet as I approached the headstone. "Hey, big bro," I murmured. "I've got so much to tell you." I told him about the business, how we'd landed a big new client last week, about Mom and Dad and how they were doing better these days. And yes, I told him about Karen, how she wouldn't be hurting anyone else for a long time. A warm breeze rustled through the trees, and for a moment I could almost hear his voice on the wind. "Stay strong, sis. I got you." I smiled, touching the headstone one last time before turning to leave. Walking away, I felt lighter, freer. The past year had been a trial, but I'd come through it stronger. Karen was facing justice, the business was thriving, and most importantly, Andrew's memory was honored. Now I've got a question for you. If you discovered a loved one had been stealing from your family, would you turn them in or try to handle it privately? And what if their actions might have indirectly led to someone's death? This is a tough situation with no easy answers, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hey there, I'm Julie Thompson -28. a rising star in marketing and about to marry the love of my life. Everything was perfect, or so I thought. Julie, you look stunning. My best friend Jessica beamed, adjusting my veil with a grin. Thanks, Jess. I can't believe this day is finally here. I took a deep breath, steadying myself as I prepared to walk down the aisle. My heart melted when I saw Mark's face light up. God, I love that man. The ceremony was flawless like a dream. But the reception, that's when things took a dark turn. Julie, darling, Eleanor, Mark's mother, called out with a toast in hand. To my new daughter-in-law. Eleanor and I had never truly clicked. She always seemed to think I was unworthy of her son. But maybe today was different, an olive branch. Thanks, Eleanor, I replied, accepting the champagne glass and hoping for a fresh start. I took a sip and in the corner of my eye, spotted two unexpected faces, my parents. We hadn't spoken in years, not since I'd left home at 18. Mark, my parents are here. I don't know what to do. Mark squeezed my hand reassuringly. It's okay, babe. We'll handle it together. We made our way toward them, but as we approached, the room started to spin. Sounds blurred and my vision grew hazy. Mark, I don't feel so good. Julie, what's wrong? His voice sounded distant. I reached out, trying to focus, but everything faded to black. The last thing I saw was Eleanor's face, smiling, but there was something sinister in her expression. When I came to, I was lying on a cold, hard floor, not the plush hotel bed I'd expected. My head throbbed as I looked around, panic rising. This place was unfamiliar, dimly lit, and silent. Hello? Is anyone there? My voice echoed, but there was no answer. I tried to stand, legs trembling beneath me. My wedding dress, once pristine, was now dirty and wrinkled, and my ring, it was gone. Mark? Mark? I called out, desperation in my voice. Silence, then faint footsteps and voices from above. I strained to listen. She's gone, Mark. I'm so sorry, sweetie. Eleanor's voice, thick with mock sympathy. My blood ran cold. What was going on? Days blurred together in that dark, windowless basement. I pieced together fragments of conversations, slowly realizing the horrifying truth. One day, I heard Eleanor's heels clicking on the stairs. The door creaked open, flooding the room with light. She stood there, silhouetted, her gaze filled with cold satisfaction. Well, well, how's the runaway bride? Eleanor, what's happening? Let me out of here. She laughed, a sound that chilled me to the core. Oh, Julie, you naive little girl. Did you really think you could take my son from me? Take him? We're in love. We got married. A marriage that never should have happened, she sneered. As far as everyone knows, he got cold feet and ran away. Poor Mark, devastated, left with only his mother to comfort him. My blood ran cold. You're lying. Mark would never believe that. Wouldn't he? Eleanor's smile was vicious. He's always trusted his mother, just as he did with the last girlfriend who disappeared mysteriously. What are you talking about? Eleanor's eyes gleamed with twisted satisfaction. Oh, you didn't know. You're not the first, Julie. I've grown quite good at removing obstacles. Now be a good girl and stay put. In a few months, you'll be declared dead. Mark will move on, with me guiding him, of course. You're insane. You can't keep me here forever, I spat. Her cold smile never wavered. Watch me. The door slammed shut, casting me back into darkness. I tried everything, picking a lock, breaking the tiny window, even digging at the walls. Nothing worked. Days blurred into weeks, and I was left in isolation with only the sickening echo of Mark's devastated voice drifting down to me, punctuated by Eleanor's nauseating, faint sympathy. My hope was dwindling. One particularly dark day, curled in the corner, something caught my eye, a faint glint under an old shelf. Crawling over, hardly daring to hope, I reached out. An old flip phone, half covered in dust. With trembling fingers, I flipped it open. It had power and signal. For the first time in what felt like eternity, a smile tugged at my lips. Eleanor thought she had won, but she'd made one fatal mistake. Never underestimate a woman with nothing left to lose. Clutching the phone to my chest, I steadied myself. This was my lifeline. I couldn't risk a single wrong move. But as I sat there, mind racing with plans and possibilities, one thing became crystal clear. Eleanor Wilson had no idea who she was dealing with. and she was going to regret ever crossing Julie Thompson. With shaking hands, I dialed Jessica's number, my heart pounding as it rang. "Hello? Jess, it's me, Julie." A beat of stunned silence, then Julie, "Oh my God, where are you?" Everyone's been so worried. "Listen carefully," I whispered. "I didn't run away. Eleanor drugged me. I'm locked in her basement." Another beat of silence. Then Julie, that's insane. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" "I swear on our friendship, Jess, I'm telling the truth. I need you to believe me." She hesitated. "This is a lot to take in." "I know, but please, I need you to help me look into some things, discreetly." "What things?" "Eleanor's past, the family business, finances, Mark's ex-girlfriend. There's something rotten going on here." After a tense pause, she said, "Okay, I'll see what I can do. But Julie, if this is true," "It is, and when we prove it, Eleanor's going down." Hanging up, I knew I had to be patient. When Eleanor came down next, I was ready. "Please," I whimpered, curling into a ball. "I can't take it anymore." "You win." She smirked, relishing my apparent surrender. "Finally breaking, are we?" "Good girl." The second she left, I sprang into action. I documented everything, the locks, the food scraps, bits of conversation I overheard. I even managed to snag a strand of Eleanor's hair from the stairs, DNA evidence. Days turned into weeks as I played the role of a broken captive, all while gathering intel and keeping in touch with Jess. One night, Jess's whisper crackled through the line. "Julie, you won't believe what I found. Eleanor's family has been covering up her crimes for years, and Mark's ex, she didn't just leave town. She vanished, no trace left behind." "Anything else?" I asked, pulse racing. "The company books are a mess. Eleanor's been siphoning off millions." "Perfect," I said, a wicked smile creeping onto my face. "We've got her. Now we just need to set the trap." As the 3-month mark of my disappearance approached, I overheard Eleanor on the phone. "Yes, we'll file the death in absentia papers next week. It's time to move on." In the darkness, "Oh, Eleanor, you had no idea what was coming." The day of reckoning finally arrived. I heard the commotion upstairs, raised voices, hurried footsteps. Then the basement door burst open. "Police, don't move." The sudden flood of light was blinding, and I blinked through tears of relief as they helped me to my feet. Across the room, Eleanor was being led away in handcuffs, her face contorted in a mix of shock and rage. "This isn't over," she shrieked. "Mark will never believe you." But as I emerged into the daylight, I saw Mark standing there, his face filled with horror and shame. He knew. He knew the truth now. "Julie, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." I looked at him, and any warmth I once felt was gone. "Save it, Mark. You chose to believe her lies. We're done." The following weeks were a blur of court hearings and media frenzy. Eleanor faced charges of kidnapping, fraud, and attempted murder. Robert, Mark's father, broke down and confessed of his complicity in covering up her crimes. He, too, was arrested. Even my parents tried to reconnect with tearful apologies. But I had learned my lesson about toxic people. I kept them at arm's length. 5 years later, I stood on a stage, looking out at a sea of faces, fellow survivors. I smiled, took a deep breath, and began. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to the Rising Phoenix Conference. I'm Julie Thompson, and this is my story of survival and triumph." As I shared my journey, I thought about how far I'd come. My book, From Basement to Bestseller, Surviving a Psycho Mother-in-Law, had topped the charts, and I was using my voice to help other survivors reclaim their lives. Eleanor was rotting in prison, her appeals denied, and the family fortune drained to pay restitution. Mark had tried reaching out once more, but I blocked his number. Some bridges stay burned. In the front row, Jess beamed at me, my best friend and now my business partner in our advocacy organization. I wrapped up my speech with a final thought. Remember, your past doesn't define you, your strength does. We are not victims, we are survivors, and we will rise. The applause was thunderous as I stepped off stage. I felt light, free. Eleanor had tried to break me, but instead she made me unbreakable. A lesson I would never forget. Now I have a question for you. If you were in Mark's shoes, would you have believed your mother's story, or would you have questioned it more? What would it take for you to doubt someone you've trusted your entire life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences could help someone in a similar situation. If this story resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life dramas and survival stories. Remember, your voice matters, and sharing these stories can make a difference. Stay strong out there.